From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your evening update.
Daniels Roofing, licensed, bonded, insured roofing contractor. 45 years of generational expertise, offering a variety of roofing systems in the North State. Composition shingles, metal, tile, fire-safe wood shingles, and spray foam roofing systems. An energy-saving cool roof, perfect for commercial flat roofs and mobile homes. With other companies, you may get a foreman or a salesman. But with Daniels Roofing, you get Daniel. Call today for your free estimate. Daniels Roofing, 3 generations working hard to protect your home and business.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Meteorologist Mike Krueger. Let's take a look at our weather headlines, and you notice they may not have changed. In fact, they haven't really changed over the last 24 hours. Why? Because look at that first headline. It says not much change through next week, and that's essentially what we've got here. Yeah, highs will be near normal going into the weekend. In fact, a little bit warmer as we go into tomorrow. But still your typical summer heat. But the good news is significantly cooler weather as we go into early next week. A nice little dip in those temperatures. Now we're going to get into that here in just a second, but first let's take a look at your Krueger's Quickcast. For those of you that are in a hurry and just want a quick look at the forecast here for the next 24 hours. And for tonight, low to mid 60s in the valley, in the 50s for most of the higher elevations, and low 50s for the coast. Out the door tomorrow morning, still some haze, some smoke for some of you, otherwise sunny skies. We're going to be looking at more fog along the coast. Temperatures low 70s by 8 a.m. for the valley, mainly in the 60s for many of you in the higher elevations. So if you look out on the satellite image here, you can see 2 areas of low pressure, one moving into Canada, the other one just west of that. That's some cooler and more mild air that'll be moving in later this weekend and in particular next week. And we'll get into that and just how much cooler it will get after Krueger's Quickcast, though. All right, so there you can see some of the fog that we are seeing out there tonight and tomorrow morning, that is, for your Saturday. Clear skies. There may be some afternoon clouds that can develop in the higher elevations, especially in Siskiyou, Modoc County. Maybe a stray sprinkle, maybe a stray shower, and an off chance for a thunderstorm. But those chances are pretty slim. And look at the coast. You're actually clearing out for your Saturday afternoon, looking at some sunshine. That should be nice. Now, the winds are dying down here tonight and tomorrow morning. That's pretty standard. That's pretty typical. By Saturday afternoon, a little breezy. Those north-south gusts, that is, for the valley at about 10, 15 miles per hour, a little bit stronger with those westerly winds in the northern and eastern mountains. So for tomorrow, we're flirting with 100 degrees for Redding, but otherwise mainly mid to upper 90s in the valley. 80s for most of the higher elevations, although in Trinity County inland, you're talking temperatures in the mid to upper 70s, mid to upper 90s, and low 60s for the coast. So your 7-day forecast, temperatures still pretty hot over the weekend, but you see that big drop in the temperatures by Monday and Tuesday in particular, slowly creeping back up, but staying below normal as we go into Wednesday through Friday of next week. Low 60s for the coast, partly to mostly cloudy skies. Inland and Trinity County, temperatures back down to the 80s by Monday into Tuesday of next week. And same story for the higher elevations as those temperatures are dropping, most likely looking at the low to mid 80s by the time we get into Monday, Tuesday of next week. Maybe even some upper 70s for some of the cooler locations in the mountains. All right, that's a look at Krueger's Quickcast. Before we get to the deeper dive, just want to give you a quick reminder, download that app for free today, the Weather NorCal app. Just search for Weather NorCal, space between the two. And before you know it, you've got a free Weather NorCal app that's all about Northern California, but it will travel with you wherever you go. All right, let's take a look at our fire weather forecast. And we're going to start off with those winds as usual. No wind events. That's the good news. We still have those winds picking up a little bit here through the afternoon hours. Gusts upwards of around 15, 20 miles per hour from the south for the valley, and for the eastern mountains out of the west at a little over 20 miles per hour. Dying down again Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Yep, those winds picking right back up again. As far as the fire weather risk is concerned, moderate to high throughout the weekend for both Saturday and Sunday. Nothing alarming, nothing unusual. We just need to note that the fire weather risk is elevated as it typically is. We just want to stay away from the reds and the purples and the humidity levels down to the single digits. The smoke is not going to be changing much either. For tonight, tomorrow morning, though, we are seeing more of that smoke working its way into parts of Trinity County. You'll notice that. Then some of that smoke working its way down close to the valley again Saturday morning, but with that southerly flow of winds again for Saturday afternoon, It'll blow that smoke from the green fire back up to the northeast through Saturday afternoon, Saturday night. And looks like more smoke working its way back down into northern Trinity County by Saturday night and possibly into Sunday morning as well. As you know, conditions change rapidly with the fires. You can go to weathernorcal.com, click on the fire danger section, and you got all the information you need right there from weathernorcal.com. Cooler than normal. Yes, it's cooler than normal in the longer range forecast, and here's the reason why. We've got two bubbles of heat, one over the desert Southwest, the other one over the Gulf of Alaska. You see that mild air up to the north? That's slowly migrating to the south over the weekend. And by early next week, it actually dives down to the south. And that's going to keep the heat to the west and east of us. And our temperatures drop as a result. Mid to upper 80s for the valley by Monday, Tuesday. That mild air will kind of linger around. However, the heat over the desert Southwest is going to build a little bit closer. And temperatures as a result will increase. But we're staying below normal for the long range here. You can see those 80s I was talking about for Monday, Tuesday, back in the 90s by Wednesday, Thursday, and mid to upper 90s by Friday, Saturday, and that next weekend, right? So again, you can clearly see those areas of low pressure spinning to our north. That's the cooler air that's going to be diving southward. But what about rain? Well, let's talk about that. First and foremost, we're going to be looking at that fog along the coast that should burn off here by tomorrow afternoon. And I do expect for you to see plenty of sunshine even along the coast. There may be some added cloud cover for some of those higher elevations, especially in Siskiyou and Modoc County. But chances for rain are very, very slim for Saturday. And for Sunday morning, looks like some patchy fog along the coast. But by Sunday afternoon, a lot of that fog will burn off. More sunshine, but then building back in probably by Sunday evening. Now you'll notice a little bit more in the way of cloud cover Sunday afternoon, especially in Siskiyou and Modoc counties, but even the eastern mountains seeing some of that as well. Could we see a stray shower or thunderstorm? That's not out of the question. But one of the things I want to point out, it's very dry in the upper levels of the atmosphere. This is looking at the water vapor. This is essentially the moisture in the atmosphere, or in our case, the lack thereof, because we're looking at those rust colors indicating very dry conditions. But I want to show you what happens as that more mild air comes in from the north. Now, first thing to point out is typically when we see storm systems come from the north, there's typically not a lot of moisture associated with them, even this time of the year, but especially in the winter. Mainly our bigger sources of moisture are going to be coming in from the desert Southwest, right, where you have that monsoon moisture. But the moisture that you're seeing here for Monday of next week, that is not coming in from the desert Southwest. That's not monsoon moisture. But it is going to increase our relative humidity a little bit, but I think it'll still be too dry. You see the colors that are over Northern California on Monday, green and yellow. That's just getting out of the dry category and working its way into the more moist atmosphere, but not a lot of moisture any way you look at it. That's the case Monday, that's the case Tuesday, and even Wednesday of next week. So we have slightly higher humidity as a result, and that will actually decrease our fire weather risk as a result. But as far as rain is concerned, I just don't think there's going to be enough moisture for us to see anything significant. Could there be a stray shower for parts of Northern California come Monday, Tuesday of next week? Let's take a look at that on our long range forecast model. Well, there you can see Monday, more clouds moving in. Could we see a stray shower in some cases for the mountains? Sure. You see on Tuesday, you're seeing some of that as well. So Monday and Tuesday, if you see a sprinkle or a light shower for some of the higher elevations and maybe even the coast, don't be surprised. But it's not anything I'm setting in stone. It's too dry, I think. I think it'll be too dry for us to see anything significant. All right, so the main impact will be, you'll probably just notice it's going to feel a little bit more muggy, maybe some added relative humidity levels. Taking a look at those wave heights for your Saturday and your Sunday, we're not going to see much change there. In fact, by Sunday, those wave heights are kind of dropping a bit. So here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast, temperatures in the mid to upper 90s. So we've got really one more hot day on Saturday before we're going to start transitioning to the cooler weather, more mild weather for early next week. The coast still looking at those low 60s for your daytime highs. 97 in Willow Creek, 94 for Orleans and Gas Key, about 86 degrees. For Siskiyou County, still mainly in the upper 80s to low 90s. So we're starting to see temperatures drop in some cases. There you can see Mount Shasta City only high of about 89 degrees on Saturday. For Modoc County, you're talking temperatures mid to upper 80s for your daytime highs. 89 for Alturas, but Cedarville about 85 degrees for your Saturday. How about the Eastern Mountains? Well, how about 80 degrees for Viola, 89 in Chester, 88 degrees for Paradise, and Susanville about 95. And for the Valley to the south, 93 for Gridley, 96 in Los Molinos. And your 7-day forecast for Chico, oh yeah, upper 80s by Monday, mid 80s by Tuesday, and then slowly creeping their way back up, going through next week, but still below normal. So could some of us touch 100 degrees tomorrow? It's not out of the question. Redding, Anderson, Bella Vista, Palisadro, maybe the city of Shasta Lake. But as you head south, where those temperatures do drop a little bit. Looking at your 7-day forecast for Redding, well, there it is, upper 80s for Monday, Tuesday, and then slowly creeping back up in the low to mid 90s, but still well below normal for this time of the year by Thursday and Friday. Well, that's your evening update. I will have the weekend off, but Chase Wilson will be back in here for the weekend to give you your updates throughout the weekend, so be sure to check in with him for Saturday and Sunday, but I'll be right back here reporting to you from Baja, Mexico on Monday morning at 6 a.m. with the latest update and live on Coffee with Krueger at 6:30. Until then, have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Fire spreads quickly. Don't wait until it's too late. Garmin's Tractor Service specializes in field mowing and light tractor work to help protect your family, your property, and those around you. We're fully insured, locally licensed, and ready to help you create the defensible space you need. Call or text Garmin's Tractor Service today. Protect what matters before fire strikes you.